But what does that mean, and how is that even possible? Do Neanderthals exist today? Well, no. What exactly is the United States? There are 8 other islands scattered around there too, but nobody lives on those, so they're not really that important. This means that today, every human being outside of sub-Saharan Africa with no sub-Saharan ancestry has an average of 2.5% of their genes inherited from Neanderthals. In North America, Vancouver, Seattle, Portland, and most of San Diego and Los Angeles would be underwater. Perhaps even more importantly, and 1.6% of all Americans live outside of America. But a place that likely won't anytime soon is this tiny island in the middle of nowhere in the Pacific. Now that's all of America that isn't actually located in America. Europe would be one of the most devastated areas in the world, like these 2 uninhabited islands covered in bird poop that are claimed by Colombia.
And as a final weird consequence of this policy, you can walk across this very tiny border from China into Afghanistan and have to set your clock back a full 3.5 hours after crossing.
You kill your grandfather. Our next extremely bizarre place is a planet that is likely completely covered in water. Take the planet COROT-7b, for example, where instead of raining water, it rains down rocks. It has such a thick atmosphere that we didn't even know what its surface looked like until 2005. It probably has something to do with the fact that the lake seems to occasionally explode and kill everything around it.
But we don't live in that world. We live in a world where countries, borders, and politics exist that have horribly skewed this perfect ideal into something that looks more like this. Like here in Samoa, where the government decided to completely skip December 30th, 2011 and move the country forward an entire day.
Let's then say that the first thing that you decided to do with this new time machine was to go back in time to the 1890s, find a young Adolf Hitler, and kill him before he could start the Second World War and the Holocaust.
But even weirder is this monstrosity in Kiribati, where the dateline lunges out 2,000 miles to surround it before coming back to relatively normal.
There is so much gas on Titan that it literally rains it. Why is that the case? Because of history, human nature, and religion.
In theory, you could drive in a straight line and hit all of these spots and have to change your clock an hour back and forth 7 times, all while driving inside of the same state.
Restaurants routinely offered dog meat as a tempting alternative to normal food.
The reason so few people live here is because really, why would anybody want to?
But squirrels aren't just a problem to American infrastructure, they're a problem anywhere squirrels can be found.
There's a man who lives in the Amazon in Brazil called the loneliest man in the world.
It's almost like squirrels evolved specifically to be good at wrecking power lines and causing chaos in human-built cities. Ever since, there have literally been hundreds of people who have claimed to be his rightful heir to the empty and increasingly irrelevant Russian throne. But you can probably guess how that went.
As mentioned previously, the roof on the city was always covered in garbage and was the prime dumping spot for residents. But it was also a pretty cool spot for you to go and check out planes that were almost crashing into everything.
Because previous attempts to contact isolated tribes has ended in catastrophe.
You would have to carry an umbrella with you to shield yourself from the drippy water pipes and people throwing garbage out above you.
The thought of having some islands just off the coast of Africa where some rich Russians are trying to recreate the Imperial Russian Empire, complete with a czar and everything else, is kinda weird.
Driving sucks. It's dangerous and you have to deal with traffic, potholes, UFOs, weather, and people who merge without putting on their blinker. And polar bears are also known to occasionally wander onto the highway, and since they sometimes hunt humans, you may have to deal with one attacking you.
And it could have been pretty good, or it could have been some rando off the street who decided 2 hours ago that he was now a dentist.
That's pretty dangerous and you'll probably die, but I mean, you'll probably have died a dozen times before this anyway.